Here we are, guys. Been a little while. Been a while since we had all four of us here. We're going to. Oh, Bleep works on stream. Thanks, Dub. So, we are going to discuss a few things. And of course, Alyssa went through and pulled some statistics and everything for us here to kind of relate and put out the severity of some things and just make it more relatable for people. That's kind of what we're trying to do every time we do these. They're very important. Not talked about enough, I swear. So, with that being said, I will let Alyssa announce tonight's topics.
Um, so first we're gonna talk about obsessive compulsive disorder. So a lot of people know it as OCD. It's an order in which people have recurring or unwanted thoughts, ideas, or sensations. Those are the obsessions. And then it goes into the compulsion side of it. And the compulsions are what they do to get rid of those thoughts. So they're driven to do something repetitively. These repetitive behaviors can be anything, as in washing your hands, cleaning, checking on things, mental acts like counting, and those are just some of the common ones, but they can go into various different things that people fall into to kind of stop that obsession or those thoughts or ideas. So the thing with people with OCD, because everyone can have thoughts like this, but people with OCDs, these thoughts are persistent and intrusive. So if they don't act on these compulsions, it actually will send them into some type of response. It's not like somebody who has like a distressing thought or repetitive behavior and they just don't do it once. They're like, okay, and it's fine. If these people don't do it, it'll actually make them angry or it'll throw off their entire day or their mood or something like that. They can't function unless they actually do that compulsion to get rid of that obsessive thought. A diagnosis for OCD requires the presence of the obsessional thought or compulsion that is time consuming for more than 1 hour a day.
Okay.
It has to impair work or their social functioning or skills. And OCD affects 2 to 3% of people in the United States. And this is among adults. So they haven't like really done any studies for younger children or teenagers. So that 2 to 3% are adults. Then some of these obsessional thoughts could be anything from contamination, fear of contamination by people or the environment. So those are kind of like what they start to go into is what people say about germaphobes. They start to be obsessed about germs or things about around them, and that would be like people that would start to wash their hands or clean things obsessively. Then there's people who go into the obsession of disturbing sexual thoughts or images. There's even obsessional OCD about religions, thoughts or fears. You can go into OCD about extreme worry about something, fear of losing something, or a person that can become an OCD. So it's also like not just like a physical thing that you can be OCD about, it can be a thought as well. As for like treatments, you can get put on a medication for it. Just like everything else, you have to find what works for you. Selective serotonins are what are used to treat the OCDs. obviously different types of serotonin. This is all above my head because it's for doctors, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's like a whole list. Like there's this whole page of different types of serotonin increasers that they can use.
Did we lose Lissa?
OCD,
Oh.
but then there's also just like, do you have me?
Well, yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. But then there's also just like neurological treatment, and that's like where you go see a counselor, and they give you different tips and tricks within the session. There's also deep brain stimulation, which involves like implanted devices in your brain, which I thought was interesting. I
That
don't know
sounds
how much I
interesting.
would. Yeah, I want to do more research on that before I talk about it.
Sounds like they're doing the research as we speak.
Yeah. So I kind of want to like follow it. It's just a little capsule they put in there to kind of help stimulate the brain when it can feel like the electrons and stuff coming about when that impulsive or the obsessive thought comes, and then the impulsive reaction wants to start. It kind of interacts and counteracts it. So that's an interesting one to keep in mind.
That is very interesting. I don't know how I would feel about it either.
Self-care is another big one. Just helping yourself cope with your OCD and understanding that you have it. Once you get diagnosed, obviously don't self-diagnose. Go get actually diagnosed. Go see a counselor, get tips and tricks. Getting good quality amount of sleep is a good one for OCD so that you are thinking properly when you're actually struggling with it. Eating healthy food, exercising, and spending time with other people that will help you through and understand when you are in one of those moments where you're trying to work through it. Say maybe you're going into a moment where you want to clean. They're letting you do that, but also trying to like help you understand that you don't have to.
Sure.
So there's like that push and pull within it.
Understandable.
Those are the big ones for OCD that 2 to 3% of adults have OCD. That there's a new study out right now with those implants to try to help treat it.
Said 2 to 3% of adults.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so very low percentage of it. But is there different like severities of like mild to severe cases that they talk about that at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it's probably just one classification of OCD but
I'm sure once you get like into your counseling sessions and they start to diagnose you, there are different levels to it.
right.
But
is there a stat for like misdiagnosis with OCD that you know of?
not in those studies that I looked at. I could probably look it up. But the notes that I took from ones that I was reading, just like from the notes that I have, I didn't see anything about people being misdiagnosed.
Just such a small percentage compared to most of the other stuff that we've talked about.
Right.
I know within, like one of the notes I did say, I wrote down was like many people with OCD or without OCD still have these distressing thoughts or repetitive behaviors, but they fall under a different type of. It has to be
You said an hour or more a day, right?
an hour or more a day, and it has to impact like your work, your social, and a lot of times those people that still have those distressing thoughts or those repetitive behaviors, it doesn't impact them in that way. So it doesn't fall under the OCD.
Okay.
That's what I was asking because it's such a low percentage and you see so many people that are like, "Oh, my OCD." So you hear that, but
self-diagnosing.
It's a self-diagnosis, correct? So what I was trying to get at is there something else it classifies as? And obviously they do have another classification
It
for
would
it.
be a lot of the ones that they're saying, like many people without OCD having distressing thoughts or repetitive behaviors. Those fall under like categories of anxiety, because you notice like
Anxiety.
most
Okay.
people that have like anxiety, they have like different things that they do every night before they go to sleep, that
Yeah.
just to
Okay.
make them feel comfortable.
And
But
then,
it's not affecting them in a way where it is taking an hour out of their night.
okay.
And if it is, then they're going to fall under the OCD category. But if it's just something that bothers them, but they could go to sleep maybe after about 10 minutes because they didn't do it, then that would be more of like an anxiety thing versus, but there's so many other
That can be
things that are
considered like a habit, a routine, even
combined.
to calm your anxiety. And that's
Yep.
probably the difference in why it doesn't fall under OCD.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
Sounds very
Anxiety.
OCD.
autism.
Anxiety's a lot deeper than we could probably ever get into, honestly.
And well, and a lot of these are all intertwined. Like we've said before, they all intertwine in different ways, and they're so common, and that's why there are a lot of misdiagnoses, because the
Fine
brain, if you
lines.
tweak, yeah, there's those fine lines. So if you go into like counseling and you're not completely honest with what you're doing and being open, you can say something or tweak it or not give the full story, and that counselor thinks, oh, hey, you're going down this path, but
Yeah.
you leave out that one, seems like a minor detail, but it's actually very crucial, and it takes you down a completely different path.
Absolutely. And that's what I said before. It was like if you go in there and you're not completely honest with the doctor or the counselor or whoever you're seeing at that time, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. So it's always best to just go in there with complete honesty and just be blunt about it. Don't try to beat around the bush and think what you read on Google is what you have. Let them do their job and be honest with them so they can actually get you the help you need.
And what were you saying? I think we talked over you.
I was just saying that it sounds very similar to autism, and I'm looking it up right now. I'm wondering if there's a link, and it kind of looks like there is.
That
Looks
was
like researchers found around 25% of young people with OCD also had a diagnosis of autism.
me and Alyssa just were discussing the autism spectrum, and that was gonna be one of the topics for tonight, but we chose to go against this. So that was gonna be a later topic, Ben. So again, it all intertwines. No, you're doing great because it all intertwines, right? It all falls in together.
No, I spoiled it.
No, but it's just
No.
it's crazy that you brought that up because that was gonna be one of the topics for this week.
That's gonna be next time.
That'd be
Did
next
you
time.
text that?
So
Hold on, I'm sorry. Was that in the text?
no, that was just.
Oh. Why you have secret topics? Why don't put it in the text message? It's like, hey, don't mention this in today's podcast.
No, that's great because it
Autism
just
and
shows that
OCD.
it all really does intertwine with each other. So
Yeah, that's gonna be next time because I like to build off and kind of bounce back. So yes, all of them intertwine, and there are so many different types of ways that you're either going down this path, you're going down that path, or you're being diagnosed together, because they do intertwine, like you're saying, and you picked up on it that
instantly,
they're so similar that you were saying they sound alike, and a lot of people are diagnosed together because they're so similar. Maybe they don't have both, but they have such similarities that you can't really separate them.
yeah, that's that fine line we're talking about, right? So if you're not completely honest or they don't see the full story, it's hard to give you a correct diagnosis.
Well, I mean, it's tough, stuff that's on a spectrum like that. It's with
The autism spectrum is.
Yeah.
The great minds do think alike. We were all thinking the same topic, just not right now.
Yep.
I just with OCD, it's one of those things that, like I said, a lot of people claim it, but for those that actually are diagnosed with it and it affects their daily life, I can only imagine that it's tough because for me alone, just something's out of place each day, or it's not going the way I want it to, or it's not going the way I planned. And it gets stressful. So that's just anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So OCD's got to be at least 10, 15 times worse on a mental than anything.
Breaking my routine.
Yep,
Breaking
and
routine.
that's one of my stepmom's friends. She was actually clinically diagnosed with like OCD, and one of the things that she did was when she was done eating, whether anybody else was around her done eating, she'd clear the whole table. So like, ready or not, here she came. If she was done, you were done too. She would just clear the whole table, and it was something she couldn't control. Like, she would just do it.
Yeah. Get out of the way.
Lose her
Yeah.
mind is literally.
Yeah, when she was done, you were done, and she just didn't. And she would tell people like she was sorry, like as she was doing it, but she just like couldn't stop herself from cleaning the table, doing the dishes, like getting it all done all at once because she was done. Everything else had to be done.
I'm so thankful. I don't mean this in any way, but I'm so thankful that I don't have that issue.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like,
Military
food.
chow hall kind of is what it sounds like. Yeah, right. Absolutely, chat. It's crazy because when the last person got their food, when they were done eating, y'all better been moving your asses. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so eat it or lose it.
Yeah, well, now it makes sense that that only 2% of the population is diagnosed with OCD. You know, it sounds like it has to be severe enough that, like your relative, that has to clear the table. You know, like you literally can't function without having it fixed. You know, like it has to be fixed, or you can't like move. Basically, stuck.
Yeah. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. So that train left.
Our ADD all kicked in. We're going away a different direction here.
Our next topic, ADHD.
For the 15th time, we all went down that road. Oh, so that covers OCD.
Okay. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
We all let our heads catch up to the topic here. We're gonna move on.
That one was a lot.
So the next one is dealing with the holiday blues or dealing with depression during the holidays. Just we talked just because the holidays are coming up, and we all know this time of year, just it is a nice time of year, but also it is a hard time of year for a lot of people. So we wanted to give some statistics about this time of year and talk a little bit more about that. Just jumping right in, a survey by the American Psychology Association found that 38% of people felt their stress levels increased during the holiday season. Stress led to an increased risk of illness, substance misuse, or higher rates of anxiety and depression. And then it also goes into, do depression rates increase during the holiday seasons? And the National Alliance of Mental Illness found that 84% of people living with a mental illness reported that their conditions worsened over the holiday season. And this was for various reasons. It could be due to responsibilities increasing, more social interactions, less time to relax, physical and mental fatigue, pressures of perceived obligations. So you might have to travel, or meals, or planning, gift giving, so much, the financial stress, the high expectations of your families, or even what you're seeing on TV. Even loneliness, because some people don't have that around this time of year, so it's like the complete opposite. The loneliness, disappointment of not being able to see your family, isolation. So there's like the two polar opposites, like the expectation levels, but then also the loneliness or isolation of it that affects people.
I'm sure most of us have seen a lot of that firsthand or felt that a lot of that firsthand.
I don't want to spoil it, but do you have like the suicide rates during this time?
I do not know
Okay,
if that
I'll try to find them real quick, but I do know that
they spike.
they are very, very high this time of year. As you spoke of the loneliness, or the other end of the spectrum, they don't feel like they're enough to provide for their family for holidays, to be able to give gifts or all that stuff, not be able to travel to go see them. So I'm gonna try to find this.
While he researches that, research shows that clinical depression with a seasonal pattern impacts as much as 6% of the population. So, referring back to last time's podcast talking about SAD or seasonal affective disorder, that also increases during the holiday season. So,
Absolutely.
on top of everybody who already experiences it just naturally, there's another 6% that kind of jump as well during that.
And we discussed that a couple shows ago. So again, all coming together.
Sharp, I found that
Okay.
question. So I'm just going to read this column that I found.
Okay.
Stories debunking the myth include these: a guest column by Chris Schillig in the Ohio Alliance on December 11th, 2021 noted, it is often said that suicides increase near the holidays, but this is not accurate. Suicide attempts decrease at Christmas time and peak in the summer months.
Wow. Why is it important to
What
dispel
source
the
was that,
holiday
Jared?
suicide myth? Huh.
What'd you
Does it
say,
say
Ben?
why?
It doesn't. I could probably read a little more of this.
Yeah, it does have a. But this is average daily suicides per month as of 2021, though. Let's see if I can capture. This monitor here. Oh,
So they're using the CDC monthly suicide data for this column. It
yeah.
doesn't say why. And I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me
It
that it
does.
would be more in the summer months, but
But look at these per day numbers. We're talking January is an average of 125. February is 126, almost 127. March is almost 128. April 123. May 131. June 135. July 131. And then August, September both 139. October 135. November 128. And December 121. The
So-
average was what, 130.52 for the whole year. That's
Mhm.
130
2021.
suicides a day, guys.
And that's went up since COVID. That's a lot of depression, anxiety, loneliness, a lot of that, and most of the stuff like because when we did our stuff for it was one of our first podcasts. I did some research on it, and since COVID, the numbers have jumped
Mm-hmm.
a lot. But going back to that rate, it's weird to me that it's the highest in August and September compared, and December's the lowest. The only thing I could think is honestly, school starts August, September.
Hmm.
College
Could
starts
add
in those
that
Yeah,
days.
into.
like I was gonna ask you, do they
Parents,
have the age range like percentages?
It
you
did
can get
not.
that off CDC. I had it.
Yeah, they have a bar chart of it, so that could also impact it. But it seems like it's pretty even across the board from what you're saying. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
And what's crazy about that is not only is there 130 on average per day, but take 22 of those, and that's veterans. It's
I think it's crazy how there's more than during COVID.
Why?
Because I seem to remember everybody talking about how it was because of like COVID lockdowns and everybody being like told to stay at home and not having the social interactions. At the time, everybody was worried about a huge spike in depression and suicides. And the fact that, now that we're able to be, range free again, and it's not as bad as it was then, for it to still be higher, I would expect it to like kind of have a spike during that the time during the lockdowns and people losing their jobs.
It did spike.
Yeah, but it still grew. Like I was expecting it to be lower after.
Yeah,
So
but you think people are still struggling just as much now, and they have the freedom now to go do stuff, so they are realizing now more that they were struggling then, but they're like actually being face front with the struggle, or they're back to work and still struggling and
Or
stuff
I'm
like.
still worried
Yeah.
about all the sickness, still worried about
Good
the world shit, man.
And another thing,
Yeah.
like the fear of losing your job because you didn't do certain things like a vaccination or, not wearing your mask or whatever like that was got to be hard too.
Because those were from 2021, right? Those were
Yeah.
that was the year, yeah.
That was the
Because I think 2022 comes out at the end of this year. If I remember from the CDC.
Oh, really? Wow,
Mhm.
you have to wait a whole year?
well, you got to give them time to
Okay.
gather all the information. Takes a while.
Mhm.
So
Hurry
was a
up.
sidebar.
Have the computers do it for you.
Sidebar.
It all sucks. It's sad, and we wish obviously we could fix it,
Right.
which is why we're here.
This is why we're talking
struggling.
about it.
Please reach out, if not to us, to somebody, anybody.
Anybody.
Literally anybody.
Also
Yeah,
got
we have our personal contact information on the Discord, so
and I know all of our DMs are always open, guys. You truly are. We're only 4 people here, and we have other people on the team that are more than willing to be part of opening up their DMs and being there for everybody.
Yep.
So I know
Yeah,
I've gave up my
built a-
phone number as Jerry's comes across the chat right now, guys. So literally use it anytime, any place, any holiday, whatever. It don't matter.
Yep.
Okay.
So back to the holiday stuff.
Yeah, our sidebar went a little more than a sidebar.
Well, but it
It's stuff
does
that
make
needs to be.
sense that it would go
Yeah.
in hand.
Yeah,
It's
I agree with
important.
definitely got to be talked about.
that. I'm gonna throw this out there, guys. If you're struggling from any of this with the holidays, financially, whatever, again, reach out to us. We're raising money. Sharp is literally every day raising money so we can try and help people. Reach out to us.
Anything that comes through the stream, guys, whether it's a sub, a gifted sub, donations, whatever, I have the donation links. I have a tracker to keep track of exactly how much is coming through so that we can make sure that the most amount of money can get put towards families. We're going to try to adopt more every year and keep going. We currently are around $400 already raised, which we're thankful for. We're going to keep going as high as we can around December 15th, so that way we can start gathering stuff that people want for their. Last year we did what, Amazon wish list. People came forward with their story, exactly what happened, why, and everything like that. And we shipped off, what was it, $1,250, I think it was.
It was like something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
I can't
so
remember.
our goal is to try to be around there, and we would love to be more, and we want to keep growing, and we can't do that without you guys helping us, following our Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, joining the Discord, on Facebook, listening to our podcast on Spotify. Actually, Ben, will you tell everybody again where we can hear our podcast at? Because it's a list a lot longer than I thought it was. So
Right. So we're on Spotify, we're on Pandora, we're on iHeartRadio.com. We're on Apple
Pandora?
Podcasts, we're on hold on. Let me actually pull up the list here.
Is it all under just Fly High Wi-Fi?
Yes, it's all under Fly High Wi-Fi, all the same name. You find it on Facebook. Let me sign in real quick.
Side note, while he's doing that, guys, we're going to be holding a tournament, a PUBG tournament, console tournament, sometime hopefully before Thanksgiving. We're going to try and get some details hashed out next Friday, so hopefully we'll have something out Saturday for everybody. And all that money raised will also go toward pretty much Secret Santa stuff. So
we'll be having gifts and
Okay.
stuff to give away and stuff like that.
just like we did last year, yep.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
We need to make a list like this to like come across a stream sharp. But we are on Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast Index, Listen Notes, RSS.com, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio. And I could get us on Google Podcasts too, but hold on for that.
Eventually, when I can get YouTube to let me upload the videos without being too big or whatever they are, I'll get them on YouTube too.
You can sign into the Fly High Wi-Fi YouTube.
I tried. It said the videos were too large, so I might just do the sound. I guess we can just do the audio.
I uploaded them.
Did you get them up? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm wrong.
I have like 2 up right now, I think.
How would they?
When I was
how would
recording
the
them?
files be too large for YouTube?
You
It was
have
like
to meet a certain threshold or something.
for 4 hours or more, and I tried to upload too many, or I don't know. They weren't having it.
Was it the quality too high or something?
Probably because I always record in 1080. See, Fly High Wi-Fi. Guys, we only got 3 subs over here, and I'm pretty sure it's me, Jerry, and Alyssa. You guys get over there, follow the YouTube channel. It's spelled the same way, Fly High Wi-Fi. We do have 2 up there. Jerry is correct. They're shorter ones. Posted for 9 months, so it must have been one of the early ones.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
We need somebody to make thumbnails for us. If we have volunteers.
All right. Now you know where to find us. Back to what we're talking about.
Hold on a second.
Holiday Blues.
I am subscribed.
Blues.
All right, cool. And me.
So it is us 3, me, you, Jerry. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a YouTube, so probably not me.
You do too. It's called Fly High Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on, it's probably me. Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways,
The holiday blues, guys.
we were at like, what are the symptoms of the holiday blues or this increase of depression around this time? And just like most of the other depressions we've talked about, it's tiredness or lack of energy, no longer enjoying the activities that you previously liked, persistently feelings of guilt, worthlessness or hopelessness, change in personal relationships, change in sleep patterns, change in appetite or weight loss or gain, difficulty concentrating, difficulty working, you get irritable easily, or even self-harm. Things you could do for your loved ones or even yourself around this time is check in with your family and friends often. Listen to them with an open heart. Generally suggest talking to a professional, so going to get counseling or see a therapist. And then what could you do if you were the one struggling? Make sure you're setting expectations for yourself that are realistic around this time of year. Practice saying no, because we know it's really hard around this time of year to say no to people, your family, friends. No is a full sentence. You don't need to explain yourself. So if you don't want to do something, just say no, and if that's that. Limit external sources of holiday pressure. Don't slack on self-care. That's a big one. I know we talk about this all the time in these podcasts. Or always set aside time for yourself and figuring out what you need. And then talk to a medical or mental health professional. So again, I'm going to reiterate, going to see a professional counselor, or reaching out to a friend, or anything like that to really put in place what you're feeling. That's what I got.
Okay.
So the theme is self-care. And if you know you need help, try and get help. I know it sounds easier than it actually is, but it's what has to be done.
Sleep, self-care, and honesty.
That's a whole honesty is a whole nother thing when it comes to telling people no. It's a whole nother.
It's hard to tell people no. We get that.
It is, but people don't see it like that, and they see it as, you're an asshole or something. So that's why it's hard to say no. Part of the reason it's hard to say no.
Get it. Well, Ben, got anything else? You're always digging in over there while topics are going on. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I don't. So.
All right.
And got him this time.
Got him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got me.
All right. Bear.
No, just, same thing. I'm just going to say it over and over all the time. Get a hold of somebody if you need to talk.
Here we are here. Alyssa? Well, in that case, guys, that is going to conclude this week's episode here on Fly High Wi-Fi's Mental Health Podcast. We are very, very thankful for everybody that does tune in after we upload it to all these and listen to it. We will try to announce everything that we've talked about for the tournament to help raise money. Every time that I'm live, the money is being tracked and will be given out to families in need of this holiday. Other than that, guys, we will catch you on the next one. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.